The 70s. A time of drugs, disco, kitsch, and the Pimpmobile. Welcome everyone to this funky 11th episode of the Automotive History series, where we are going to dive deep down into the history of the Pimpmobile.
Oh, baby.
When I talk about Pimpmobiles, you might think of a popular TV program of the mid-2000s, but we're not going to discuss that today. What we are going to discuss is the Pimpmobile in and of itself. In some way, the Pimpmobile is an automotive subculture and is known of a larger theme known as car customization. People tend to modify their cars for various reasons, including business practices, like hearses, ambulances, limos, and is often done by third-party companies. On the other side, cars get customized for personal preferences, like hot rods, lowriders, racers, and whatever this is. The Pimpmobile is no exception to the rule. Especially personal preference is a term to keep in mind. Introducing the Pimp. Because what is a pimp again? A pimp is someone who makes money off of someone else's misery. In this case, ladies of easy virtue, whose job is to exchange certain activities for money. The pimp is their manager. In the 70s, pimpin' was at an all-time high, and part of being a pimp was living an obscene, ostentatious lifestyle presented by flashy clothing, expensive jewelry, and a Pimpmobile. Pimps often bought luxurious and high-end car models which, more or less, were the blank canvas of which a car customization company could release their gaudy garishness upon to meet the whimsical wishes of the pimp. Often chosen models were American luxury land yachts like full-size sedans or personal luxury cars. And if you want to know more about those, I made a video. This video of the Pimpmobile is somewhat of an extension to the personal luxury car video I made before. Think of Cadillac Fleetwoods and Eldorados, Lincoln Continental Mark Series, the occasional Buick and Oldsmobile, and if you really felt confident, a Rolls-Royce. But that's the blank canvas, as from here the car can then be customized very mildly to very wildly. Welcome everyone to a special part of our program where we are going to turn a standard sedan into a Pimpmobile. Welcome to Ed's Auto Review's Pimp My Ride. What we have here today is a 1973 Cadillac Eldorado, and a local pimp by the name of Sweet Daddy E has asked us to turn this car into a Versailles Palace on wheels. Are you ready? Here we go. Let's start with the front. As long as it somewhat resembles a Rolls-Royce from far away distance, it's close enough. First, the grille. Let's put a big fat waterfall grille on it. Next up are the headlights, which go visually from dual to single headlights thanks to these things. Now they only work for half, but let's put some more lights on it to balance it out. Still, it lacks some chrome, so bam! There we go. Next up is the side of the car. First, a wicked paint job. Then put some big fat white walls under it. And an extra completely useless spare tire hump on the side, because why the heck not? These cars already came with a thick padded vinyl roof, but as the plot thickens we're going to thicken it even more and throw in some opera windows in there for good measure. The Landau bar makes it look like a convertible, which it isn't, because let's face it, this car pretends to be a lot of things that it actually isn't. Also, let's chrome it up a bit and finally add some fake side pipe exhausts. Now, onto the back of the car. First, a fake spare tire hump, because those on the side weren't good enough. To spice things up a bit, we're going to add a panther print for some contrast, more on that later. And we're also going to add some extra chrome details, including a bull bar, because damn the one who dared to bump into this Liberace mobile. Only thing left right now is the interior. First, let's make it exotic with some more panther print, deep shag carpeting, a TV, minibar, and a lava lamp chandelier. And we're done. There you have it, your average Pimpmobile. Excuse me for a moment as I'm going ahead and puke now. But let's zoom out for a moment. Besides the whole Pimpmobile thing, the 70s already saw a healthy customization and aftermarket parts business. Companies like ASC and Wisco offered a wide selection of custom grills you could install on your car at home. It is only that the pimps took the customization to the extreme. But then again, it was the 70s. And as I explained once before, people, whether pimp or not, became obsessed obsessed with classical and kitschy details that they thought were synonymous for luxury. To prove that, allow me to show you some non-Pimpmobile examples. For instance, you could transform your standard Chevrolet Monte Carlo into a Chevrolet Custom Cloud. Your very own personal piece of Rolls-Royce luxury in your otherwise standard Chevrolet. This started out as somewhat of a father and son project, but they managed to make 14 of these before a lawsuit by Rolls-Royce successfully stopped the production because of trademark infringement. And I can see why. Next up is the short-lived rise of Stutz, or Stutz, whatever you pronounce this. Stutz was a company that made beautiful and well-respected luxury cars in the 1930s, but didn't survive the Depression era until the late 60s, when a businessman reintroduced the market as an ultra-luxury offering called the Stutz Blackhawk, with rather questionable styling. I mean, what is this? This is like a factory-made Pimpmobile. There is no further customization needed for this one. But you want to go deeper? Sure. What if you are a small-time pimp, one that just started out his business and has not made a lot of money yet? I got you covered with the Liate Caballero, a funkified version of the Chevrolet Chevette, an otherwise awful compact car / grocery getter. I mean, what the hell is this thing? It's like a Chevy Monte Carlo that shrunk in the wash. It's like a friggin' kid's toy car or something. Last but not least is Dunham Coach Company, run by Jeff Dunham. Oh, sorry, Les Dunham. This guy had the genius idea to take the chassis of a Chevrolet Corvette and put a Cadillac Eldorado body on it, with all the bells and whistles on what we know by now. The result? A monstrosity known as the Corvorado. Get it? Corvette? Eldorado? Anyway, fuck this. The cars Dunham made became known as Superfly cars, named after the blaxploitation movie Superfly. And that brings us to the next chapter. Pimpmobiles became such a cultural phenomenon that the movie industry picked up on it. First, it were the blaxploitation movies, and later on the big blockbusters like James Bond. Blaxploitation movies are movies that were made by and for the black community and revolves around life in not all too well neighborhoods. Movies like Superfly, The Mac, and Shaft. And now that I'm talking about Shaft, the guy that composed the music for Shaft, Isaac Hayes, also had his own personal transportation which could be classified as a pimpmobile, although Isaac was far from a pimp, he was a musician. But look at it. I think I kinda like it. Instead of all the chrome, it's gold. And it perfectly matches the blue paint. Oh no, what is wrong with me? Still, if you watch these movies, don't think that the cars featured were over-exaggerated. Because, here, take a look. This is actual footage of pimps from the 70s, and one decided to paint his Rolls-Royce pink. What a fine taste indeed. Anyway, the golden days of the Pimpmobile were in the 70s, but as time progressed, the focus changed. Throughout the 80s and the 90s, buyers started to shift from land yachts to oversized SUVs. And so did the pimps. Slowly but surely, the pimps traded in their brothelmobiles for SUVs. Today, the Pimpmobile is as garish as ever, but in a different form. Pimps still value luxury brands like Cadillac, but get an Escalade instead. And you can seriously question how far off this is from, well, this. Also, is this a Pimpmobile? I'm just asking. For instance, I live in a pretty rich first world country, but even I know neighborhoods that are filled with cheap econoboxes, and suddenly you see the occasional high-performance spec Mercedes AMG with a wicked paint job. Let's just say you can tell who makes an honest living and who doesn't, and that it is all about pretentious pretense. Anyway, besides all this, the Pimpmobile from the 70s has become somewhat of a joke at car shows that does spice things up a bit. And consider yourself lucky if you ever catch one in the wild. And so I'm going to end with the moral of the story, which is don't pimp hoes, pimp cars instead.